Hello friends, welcome to Beginners IAS YouTube channel. Today we are going to discuss about national emergency under Article 352. In last class we have seen about introduction to emergency provisions. If you are a beginner, kindly go through that video and come back to the continuation national emergency under Article 352. Who has the power to declare a national emergency? The straightforward answer is President. The President can declare a national emergency when the security of India or part of it is threatened by war or external aggression or armed rebellion. This war or external aggression is also called as external emergency. The armed rebellion is called as internal emergency. When will President proclaim a national emergency? It may be noted that the President can declare a national emergency even before the occurrence of war or external aggression or armed rebellion. The only thing is the President has to satisfy that there is a imminent danger. And when a national emergency is declared on the grounds of war or external aggression, it is called as external emergency. On the other hand, when it is declared on the grounds of armed rebellion, then it is called as internal emergency. The proclamation of emergency may be applicable to entire country or only part of it. When, that is, this 42nd Amendment Act of 1976 announced that or made that this proclamation of national emergency can be applicable to entire country or only part of it, that is specific part of India. For example, if the President satisfied that Tamil Nadu is going to face a war or external aggression, then the President can impose a national emergency only for Tamil Nadu. That is called as specific part of India. See, originally the Constitution has mentioned internal disturbance as third ground for the proclamation of national emergency. But this expression was too vague and wider connection. Therefore, this 44th Amendment Act of 1978 made internal disturbance into armed rebellion. That is, this is no longer possible to declare a national emergency on the grounds of internal disturbance, which was done in 1975 by the Congress government headed by the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. So, here one has to see how this proclamation of national emergency can be implemented. Who has the power? The President has the power. It doesn't mean that the President can implement a national emergency by its own. He can implement. However, this proclamation of emergency can be implemented only after receiving a written recommendations from the cabinet. This means this national emergency can be declared on the concurrence of the cabinet, not only advice of the Prime Minister. So let us see what happens in 1975. The Prime Minister during 1975, Indira Gandhi advised the President to proclaim a emergency without consulting her cabinet. So after implementing the proclamation of national emergency, the cabinet was informed about this proclamation, so that this 44th Amendment Act, during the 44th Amendment Act 1978, introduced the safeguard to eliminate any possibility of the Prime Minister along to take a decision in this regard. So let us see whether this proclamation of emergency as a judicial review or not. In the 8th Amendment Act of 1975, it made the proclamation of national emergency is immune from judicial review. That is, once a proclamation of emergency is made, there is no judicial review for it. So, for that, after 44th Amendment Act 1975, that is, the Morarji Desai was Prime Minister during 44th Amendment Act of 1978 made a changes that this proclamation of emergency as a judicial review. Also, in a case Minerva Mills, that is during 1980, the Supreme Court held that this proclamation of emergency can be challenged in the grounds of malified or irrelevant fact or absurd or preservance. That means irrelevant. And then this national emergency, this proclamation of national emergency is made irrelevant or illogical or unreasonable or inappropriate, then you can approach a Supreme Court to revoke this proclamation of emergency or to examine the proclamation of emergency, that is national emergency, proclaimed by the president. Then approval and duration. See, one must here note that approval and duration before 44th Amendment Act of 1978. So, this proclamation of emergency has to be approved in the parliament. Parliament in the sense it has Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Before 44th Amendment Act of 1978, it has 2 months. That is, once the national emergency has proclaimed, the parliament has to accept this emergency before 2 months, on or before 2 months. So after imposing the national emergency, there is no need of periodical approval. So this approval and duration after 44th Amendment Act of 1978. So the Morarji Desai, the Prime Minister, challenged this and changed into 1 month. That is, this proclamation of emergency can be extended to an indefinite period within a approval, with an approval for every 6 months. That is very, very important. If you want to extend the proclamation of national emergency, this has to be approved by the parliament within 1 month, and also to extend it has to be approved every 6 months. And what will happen when Lok Sabha dissolved before approving a emergency? See, suppose the Lok Sabha has been dissolved. Rajya Sabha is a permanent body in a parliament, whereas Lok Sabha is dissolved or made dissolution. Then this proclamation of emergency survives until 30 days from the first sitting of the Lok Sabha after its reconstitution. That is, after new government formed within 30 days, this proclamation of emergency has to be approved. Before that, Rajya Sabha has to be approved this proclamation of emergency, so that this national emergency can be imposed in the entire country or part of the country. And what is the procedure to implement a national emergency? That is special majority. So before 44th Amendment Act of 1978, it was a simple majority. After 44th Amendment of 1978, it made into special majority. What do you mean by special majority? Let us see. The special majority is nothing but a majority of the total membership of that house and majority of not less than 2/3 of the members of that house present and voting. So what do you mean by majority of total membership? For example, in a Lok Sabha, the maximum members is 543. So, majority of total membership of that house is, therefore you have to get 275 members to be present, and majority of that not less than two-thirds of members in that house. In the means, if it is passed in Lok Sabha or it is passed in Rajya Sabha, the members has to be present and voting. So, revocation. Let us see about revocation. Who has the power to revoke this national emergency? What do you mean by revoke? So, getting back this national emergency. The president has the power to revoke this national emergency. That is, the proclamation of emergency may be revoked by the president at any time by a subsequent proclamation. So here one must note that this proclamation does not need a parliament approval. This is very, very important. To revoke a proclamation of national emergency, the parliament approval is not needed. Also, if the Lok Sabha passes a resolution for its continuation, then you can revoke this proclamation. How? The 1/10th of the member of Lok Sabha has to give a written letter to the speaker if the assembly is in session. If the assembly not in session, then 1/10th member of the Lok Sabha has to give a written letter to the president. Then the special sitting has been formed within 14 days. So this provision has been made after 44th amendment of 1978. And one must have to note here that to approve it needs both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha approval, that is parliament. So here it has to be noted that for a approval one need a special majority, whereas to disapproval it focus only a Lok Sabha, not a Rajya Sabha. For a disapproval we need a permission, or else we need a approval from the Lok Sabha by a simple majority. What do you mean by simple majority? The members present in the house and voting. The majority of the members present in the house and voting. That is called as simple majority. And the remaining part to be continued in the next video. So kindly stay tuned. Have a good day. Thank you.